out of them. I mean, it takes a lot of space, but, so, if you're interested in that, please let me know, and maybe we can set something up that fits into people's schedules.
Kind of cool to see it.
City managers, I mean, anybody that you might think,
Yeah, Michael would probably like to
you
do
know,
that.
just let me know, and if there's interest, then let's set something up, because that'd be a neat one to go see.
Yeah, I think that would be cool. Look, can we wait till
Yeah.
after the first of the year?
Oh, I think the
Like
offer
we tried to
is,
cram something in between now and the end of the year.
I think the offer's open for any time. He was just like, you know, if you got
Okay.
a group of people that want to see it, he could get us in to see it, so,
Okay.
Or on top to see it.
up on top to
Yeah.
see it, yeah.
Are they trackers?
I'm
Or are
not
they just
sure.
direct?
I didn't, you know, I haven't talked to him at length about it.
The ones that were impressive, I know in California, they had it was more of a parking situation, and the collectors were the roof, and they'd actually track the sun from dawn to dusk.
Yeah, and we could go see one of those too. They just installed one at Rio Tinto, but that's a different developer, but I'm sure he'd be willing as well.
Be cool if we could set it up for the same day and you could go and do
If you could, yeah,
both of them while we were there. Because if they're two different things,
Well,
it
they're-
would be fun.
they're competitors, so
That's always
we might
good.
have to be secretive. So. But yeah, I can definitely talk about that. But if there is interest within your communities, let me know and we can go do something like that. Winter party. We're not doing a Christmas party, we're doing a winter party in January. And I am not sure what kind of dates we're looking at, but what works best for board members for something like that.
It's good. It's a good thought. I mean, we actually, Charleston, too many things going in December. January might fill up too, but it's a lot easier than December is.
Yeah,
It's a good idea.
we're gonna go to Soldier Hollow, we're gonna make it a little bit more family oriented, and
So do I get to go? I'll be out.
Yes.
yeah, you get to go, you'll have an invite.
Last
May even be asked to speak, you know.
I'll speak right here.
Wednesdays are kind of a tough night for
For you,
For
for
me.
everybody.
and
What about a Friday night? What do you guys think? Friday night?
Friday's good.
Friday seems to be not touched too much. Seems to be a good.
Would a Friday night
That's
work?
fine.
Sure.
What about your crews and all? Well, I mean, is
I
it?
think that's better for them too,
I do too. Yep.
especially these families that have kids. I mean, they don't have to worry about it running late or whatever if you
Yeah.
or you get kids home.
We plan on inviting the whole family, and it'll cost us a little bit more money, but I think it'll also be more family oriented.
I think it's good for morale for your company. I think that's good when families. We did
Yeah.
a summer party and invited families and had a ball. It
Yeah,
was really fun.
It's
yeah. So,
The meal was simple, but we went a little simpler on the meal, but it was fun because we got to have their families and everybody there. So I
Fridays
like
work for your staff.
Soldier Hollow. That's good.
Okay. So let's do a Friday.
Okay.
Are we gonna go tubing?
Yeah.
Okay.
The ones that want to go tubing, what we'll do is we'll just send out some information and say, hey, if you want to go tubing, let us know so that we're not overbuying tubing.
Right.
But, and then, so the tubing passes will be as part of the RSVP process. So,
Okay.
DAQ, Division of Air Quality, our permit status, you'll remember clear back in March of last year, we submitted a notice of intent to Division of Air Quality to change our air permit at the power plant. That notice of intent has went through engineering review, and we do have a draft approval order that is being pushed through the process at the state level. They got to go through several peer reviews, and as soon as that's done, then we will have a public comment period on our air permit. So that is moving forward. It's one of those things that crawls along, but that's the update. We also met with Rocky Mountain Power on the second point of interconnect. I wouldn't say it was a productive meeting, but I do think that we left the meeting with some deliverables that hopefully they deliver on short notice.
What didn't they like?
It's what we didn't like.
Oh, okay.
And anyways,
Okay.
the discussion was a discussion. I wouldn't classify it as good or bad. It was
Kind of neutral.
kind of neutral.
Give and take a little here and there, and
Hmm. So,
We got full cooperation and point in our direction throughout those involved in the county, in the valley.
I'm not to that point yet. I mean, they haven't dropped down on their size of the substation they need at that second point of interconnect. In my view, they're kind of jacking us around on when they're going to be completing the line. We've been running for capacity for their 46 kV system, which seems to be severely saturated on peak. Our system continues to fight voltage fluctuation issues coming off of their transmission system. And by them pushing the date out even further, I think puts our system at even more risk. And that's kind of where the conversation went.
We still have a problem with the routing. There was a discrepancy or a problem in the Jordan Hill area.
Yeah, that's still a problem. Yeah,
That really needs to be resolved before anything else can move forward.
that needs to be resolved. They've got to get into Silver Creek before we even have a chance of getting a second POI. The county is, at least the County Planning Commission has delayed that, and how long that's delayed is anybody's guess. By
Our county?
denying it, yeah.
County, Is there
So-
anything that we can do as a board, or any way that we can
I
encourage somebody or
I'm-
some group to
You
get
know,
off the
it's-
dime, I guess?
in my view, it's serious. I mean, I think that, if that big investor owned is pushing that date out further, then our system just continues to be more at risk. And, leaves us with the option of investing in more generation so that we can back them on capacity. I don't want to be a capacity plant for Rocky Mountain Power. I mean, that's not what we designed that plant for. That plant is for, handling our own loads and peak shaving. It's not designed to be a capacity plant for a great big investor owned that's just trying to make their stock look good, in my opinion. So,
I guess I'm probably not sure, maybe I could spend an hour talking with you about it, but is it our battleground or is it Rocky Mountains?
clearly up there getting into Silver Creek is Rocky Mountain's battleground. It's not even in our service territory.
But they're not even got the tools out to fight it, I guess, at this point.
And how long? I mean, that's my biggest concern on that is, if they're ready to go up there right now, that's like pushing a very big thing. And if they have to take it to other levels to get approval up there, does that delay it a year? Does it delay it 2 years? The rest of the time, we're fighting voltage problems.
So what's our county commission doing? Planning commission? Why are
They denied their request to put 5 structures in Wasatch County. So
It's
what's
open
their reason for
property.
denying it?
that there's currently a power line and they're not in that same easement. So
I know a gentleman in Rocky Mountain Power that wanted to buy Heber Light and Power back in the day. Wonder if it'd pay to call him and ask him if he could get off the dime and start doing what needs to be done. I mean, he's familiar enough with me to call me and say, "Do you want to sell Heber Light and Power?" I just wonder if
that's
it'd be
kind of a
appropriate.
violation of rules, isn't it?
We don't step outside.
Well,
I mean, it wouldn't buy us anything.
So how do we help the county understand the importance
It
of
would just
the-
be a barb is all.
I sent a letter at, you guys gave me the authorization to send a letter, and, the letter was showed by Rocky Mountain Power that we wrote to them in Planning Commission. I've addressed Planning Commission over this exact issue, that we really don't have a stake in where the line is actually sited, but we do have a stake in how long it takes them to get into Silver Creek. And delay in this is not helping our system and all of Wasatch County's customers, so. It's just one of those things where Rocky Mountain Power, I think, would like us to help, but they are pushing the dates back. We push back on them. I guess we'll see if they modify that. We pushed back on them pretty hard in the last meeting.
So it's been identified where it needs to go,
Mm-hmm.
and the county's saying it can't go there.
And it's completely different from where the other line goes.
Yeah, they currently have a 46 line running into Silver Creek, that's on Promontory's property. And Wasatch County is stating just keep it in that same easement. That way you don't even have to come into Wasatch County. Rocky Mountain Power says that they're working with the landowner, and the landowner would like it moved to this location, and it puts 5 structures in Wasatch County.
Talking poles?
Yes.
Poles, yeah.
5 poles.
It's about 1,000 feet.
Mhm.
Where would they be?
You know where the Browns Canyon turn is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right in that area.
And we're talking 1,000 feet.
About 1,000
That's
feet in
it,
that area.
okay.
Yeah. Mhm. 5 structures, yeah, 5
Well,
poles.
Promontory property comes over the ridge line and breaks into Wasatch County for just a corner. And the Promontory owner wants it on his property line. Well, you've got neighboring property owners that don't want it there.
That are in Wasatch County.
They're in Wasatch County.
And they make a big showing at the planning commission meetings.
Yes, they're very well represented.
Yeah.
Mm.
Do we know why the planning commission turned it down?
Pressure.
Because it's out of an existing right of way.
It's out of an existing right of way, and,
But the existing right of way is in Summit County, right? Okay. But that's all they really said.
mhm. And then they,
It's just 5
there's
poles.
some other things in there.
It's a very political issue.
Yeah.
Right, because nobody wants it to take their view, and nobody wants it in their backyard, and, but does Rocky Mountain Power service that portion of the county at this particular time?
Yes.
Yep.
We moved ahead on our pole line. I mean, that was part of the whole deal. I mean, we were trying to take the first steps. I'm not sure, Harold, has there been really negative feedback now on that new pole line, or have people looked at it and says, not a problem?
We've had a handful of negative things, but
Overall, well,
overall, it's
Yeah.
been.
And it was probably at first.
yeah, we took a positive step
Yeah.
there. I mean, sort of an investment in the big picture, and
Yeah, but no, I mean,
you have to.
that's just the Rocky Mountain Power discussion and kind of what we're facing there. So we pushed back hard on why the dates had changed. We addressed all these issues that we've addressed here. They said that they would come back to us and tell us why the dates had changed. So,
How much
Is there
time?
development in that
Last
area?
time
on
they
Wasatch
changed.
County?
How much time have they pushed it
There's a
out?
development that's going right now.
2 years.
Is what's
So that's
pushing.
almost 18, 19.
yeah.
All those chicken buggers.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's, yeah.
That's
Especially when you consider in the last 6 months to a year, we've maximized every bit of our generation.
To
Couple
benefit them.
times.
you
Just
can't
to
not provide. I mean,
cover
you're sort of
their
obligated,
shortfalls.
aren't you, when they run
When they
low?
call, yeah, I mean, it's either when they call and they've got capacity issues on the 46. We've got to run, or else they're gonna shut us off. So it's either like run and keep your load underneath a certain parameter, or they're gonna open a breaker and put us in the dark, just like they've done Wallsburg, just like they've done North Wasatch County, Camas, Colville. The 46 system is saturated. And on peak, or when there is problems, then, you know, and none of us want to be in the dark.
We don't.
How long was Wallsburg in the dark on the last one?
Quite a while.
Quite a while.
Over 8 hours?
Yeah, it was all day.
Yeah, that's just killer for us. I
When
mean,
was this? Just this
September, August, September.
August, yeah. So,
You don't go legal on it, do you?
we haven't yet, but believe me,
That's what I'm saying.
we've been talking
Well,
about it.
I think the fact that we invested it was $1 million for our little piece there.
Really, where we're at is it's really with UAMPS and the transmission service agreement, because our provider is UAMPS. UAMPS has the transmission service agreement with Rocky Mountain Power. But with some of the voltage issues and some things like that, believe me, and we may take it further. I talked to Marshall at length with UAMPS, and he does not disagree that if, you know, they're not willing to play, that we might have to go that route. I mean, but not yet. I mean, right now, let's work together and not get to where we're not communicating. Right now, we're at least communicating. I think that once we bring lawyers into the room, they don't talk. So,
Well, some of them do, but I don't believe ours will.
Well,
no, they won't talk to us.
They kicked Joe out.
They kicked Joe out.
I think it's something that we need to talk about, but it is really, there's four groups involved. One's the county on the approval of the transmission line across that little bit of ground. There's Rocky Mountain Power, which is a distribution company that provides electricity and runs the lines. And then there's this other entity called PAC, which is the transmission arm. They're up in Portland. Rocky Mountain Power is down here. And if the transmission company is the one that has the obligation to deliver electricity to us, as well as Rocky Mountain Power, and those two together are the ones that we would look to and say to them, look, you have an obligation to deliver electricity to us, and you're not fulfilling that obligation because we have these voltage problems and these other things. Be a hugely complex issue to try to litigate. It's not just as simple as, well, we built part of the line and now we're waiting for you guys to finish it. And so I think discussions are important. Our experience with Rocky Mountain Power, though, in the service territory dispute is they are so huge, it's almost impossible to get their attention sometimes so that they focus on Little Heber Valley. And so at some point, you almost, I don't want to say, and we're not there, but you almost have to sue them to get their attention, to get them to focus on what you're trying to do. And if that ends up to get them to the table, then but even once you've done that, which is what we did in the service territory, it still took us 6 months or a year to negotiate a settlement with them.
Is there anybody else hurting like we're hurting on this same project, or are we the only ones?
They're hurting.
They're hurting themselves.
Yeah.
They're hurting themselves. They're hurting their, you know, they've got a problem on their whole 46 system on the Wasatch back. So we're on their 46 system. So we feed 138 out of Hale most of the time, but when Hale goes down for some reason and we swap over to the 46 system that comes out of Park City, we're running for capacity usually when that happens.
I think somebody had talked about building that up, going over to Park City, and that's just a non-starter from the environmental more than anything else. Is that right?
Well, they've clearly tried to build a line in many areas. You know, we've got to rebuild our South 46 line. It just makes sense that we, you know, hang on together and join hands. They build 138 line, we get a rebuilt South 46 line, and that all makes sense. Then we don't have two lines going through our service territory. You know, we stay in just the one line corridor, and that makes sense for everybody.
So was it originally designed to go where the county doesn't want it to go now, or was it designed to go someplace different? Like when we originally did the whole plan from start to finish, clear over to Midway and everything.
They thought they had this all sorted out. Realistically, they didn't realize that that little corner went through Wasatch County.
They thought it was
But
in
that's
Summit
where it
County.
shows on the plans for it to go in the initial drawings and the initial plan when we did the new line. Okay.
Yeah,
And it's hard to tell when you get out there.
that's disputed by some. I will say what did happen is back in the whole transmission planning days, and this goes clear back to when Val Draper sat on the county council. He was the representative from Wasatch County that sat on the transmission siting committee. And it was discussed at that time that they would work with that landowner because they knew they had a right-of-way issue on that dated 46 kV line. And so it was discussed way back then that they were going to work with Promontory to get that line however they could through there. Now that goes back a long ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
So, you know, but it was at least discussed at that time with a county representative who's no longer here. So.
So what do we do?
And our guy that sat on that is no longer, I mean, Troy was there, but, you know, I mean,
Yeah.
I've talked to Troy about it. I mean,
Are there minutes on those meetings?
I don't know. But I mean, you know, that was, whether or not they discussed it, 5 poles being in Wasatch County, I doubt that was being discussed. It was just how they get through that particular property owner's land. So, anyways.
What do we need to do?
Yeah, I believe.
We'll keep working with them. You know, I just want to keep you informed. So, also, Mayor Bonner was successful in getting the UAMPS meeting moved to Midway in 2016. So their annual meeting will be at the Zermatt in August. So,
There you go.
Wish we had a place in Charleston we could invite them to go to, but
Yeah.
we'll set
you
it
sold
for
your
sure.
town well.
I did.
Yeah.
Pick one of those
Good.
big barns down there.
I was gonna say, you got a big barns down there.
You got new benches?
You got where?
Yeah, you
You
got
got
some
benches?
benches. You're
Park
set.
benches, we can have it at the park. Everybody bring your own chair, bring your lawn chair.
Zermatt's fine. Sounds good. Sounds good.
So that's where the UAMPS audience
Good deal.
moved from Kaysville.
Yay.
Oh, great, yeah, that's,
Took it away from Wasatch.
She had big competition there.
It's tough to sell Midway, you know.
That's my report. So.
You don't like Kaysville, Joe?
Compared to Midway or in the Valley?
Considering they were in Jackson last year.
Yeah, really.
that's true. I mean, you gotta keep equal with or close behind.
You compete with Jackson.
I can compete with Jackson. Yeah, barely. For people who don't live in this area, it's a fun place to
Yeah,
come.
we got all a nice mountain. We got some nice
Yeah.
mountain ranges.
Just get Bob to set up a kite surfing.
Yeah,
Yeah, down at
Excursion.
Barbed Wire Beach, right?
yeah.
Barbed Wire Beach.
That's on the internet. I didn't know that, but somebody said, did you know that little stretch there where they go
Illegally across
kites.
everybody's property.
kite surfing is called on the internet Barbed Wire Beach? So I'm fine with it. Sounds good. It's not our property. I wish it was, but
All right. Anything from you two?
I brought some pictures of the lower plant penstock.
hey, let's look.
Good.
Yeah,
Okay.
let's look.
All right.
Just actually finished her up today. I'll just show you those quick, and then I'm actually gonna run myself. So.
Well, that fires up, Joe check 7 days on your notice.
So we're okay
Yes.
on the 15th? Okay. All right, so like Jake's setting this up, that's officially our public hearing will be Wednesday, December 15th at 6 p.m. and then we'll hold our regular board meeting shortly.
One thing, it's 16th,
It's the 16th, 15th, 16th,
Wednesday, December 16th.
16th.
16th,
Okay.
1/6. 6 p.m. and board meeting after.
So, I talked to the board, it's been a few months ago, we, Larry, you can't see it very good. Maybe shut those
Well,
lines
that's
off.
the pipe elevator, huh?
So we've been doing work, it's been a summer-long process. As you can see the concrete structure down below, we originally started that early this summer, we dug down, well, a contractor dug down, we hired a local guy to do some of this work for us. They took shovels up there, dug a hole, we ran into rock right away off of that ledge, so we decided to drill rock anchors into the ledge. And then we bent the rock anchors up and then tied rebar to the rock anchors and built a box, poured the concrete.
Where is this?
It's on the penstock coming from the upper plant down to the lower plant. So it runs up on the side of the mountain down the Snake Creek Canyon.
Okay.
So you can see there's another picture kind of shows you that we've got an erosion problem up there. It's been there forever, probably, it's been there for 50 years probably, but we've been concerned about it, and we've looked at several options to try and fix it. The problem is you can't get equipment up there. It's pretty steep up the mountain, and so really it was just way too expensive to do anything. I looked at direct boring a 32-inch pipe through the mountain behind it and pulling a 28-inch in there. That was about just under $1 million to do that for probably 400 feet.
It's how many feet?
Yeah, so this is what we ended up doing, and then Bonners and Midway. I sat down, I found some pictures on the internet, we kind of come up with this deal here. And so it's an I-beam structure, it's an 8-inch I-beam, and then there's a piece of metal here, and we just constructed
Kind of like a
it.
saddle, it just kind
Yeah,
of
it's got a
sits in.
saddle there, and we didn't strap on here, that way it's not connected all the way, so if something does move, it doesn't take the pipe with it. So it just kind of sits
Got an
underneath it.
adjustable then on the
Yeah.
bottom.
So there's an 1.5 inch piece of all thread here, and then it's adjustable from that point.
Great.
And then today we took some guy wire up there, and above the cliffs, I don't think I took a picture of the cliffs, but above there is some cliffs, and we rock anchored up in there, and then we're just kind of supporting that a little bit there, just to kind of hold it there. It doesn't move very much at all, but it was just another reassurance to give a little more support. So
The pictures don't do justice to how steep that is.
No,
yeah, and I should have taken one of the luge. I actually dropped a tool and it slid down about 300 feet, and I had to go get it and have the guy that was working with me come get me to the bottom because there was no way I was walking back up. And the guys that did this did an excellent job at a really cheap price. I mean, they worked their tails off that we hired to do this. It was crazy.
You have to
Yeah.
hike up there to do it?
Yep. We ran about 300 feet air compressor hose. Well, they did from our air compressor up the hill to this, and then our rock anchor drill weighs, I don't know, 60, 70 pounds. I don't know what it is, and it's pretty big. It was pretty tough. And they packed the saccrete in there about 300 feet.
Straight up.
Be a bunch of young guys, I know that.
Yeah, he's a hard-working guy.
Looks
So
like
that's kind of you kind of see how the slope takes off right there. It's pretty steep. So that's.
So how many of those do they have to make? Just those two? Or?
There's actually two places. So
Okay.
there's two identical pieces. This is the other one. I didn't take another shot that way. So there's two sections. There's 4 of those. So the next plan we've got is we're going to come in here. We kind of keep changing our plan, but we're just trying to do it as cheap as possible and come in here and pour and dig down, see if we can hit rock again. and then take some more I-beams and drill into the rock, bend it up, and weld the rock anchor to the beam, and then pour it in like a sonotube or something. And we'll do 4 or 5 of those. It'll be every 8 feet, and then one on the end, and then we're going to drop railroad ties in there and pin them in, and then we'll anchor that back to the cliffs as well to create a small, probably like a
Kind of like a retaining wall.
yeah, it'll probably only be probably 5 foot tall, just to start. The dirt that's coming down to stop it.
Things will fill in, and if they get too much, it'll just start going over the top.
Just to try and control it, and then
Yeah.
because the edges are the big concern, because it's eroding on the edges, so we want to try and control that. So we're going to try and tie that into the bank and see if we can try and control that. Maybe, next step might be to get some UDOT erosion mats and roll out or something. But it is pretty steep, so. But I'm just going to show you. Those are the pictures I took of that. So that piece of it's done. Next spring we'll try and tackle the retaining wall.
What condition's the pipe in? Is it, how old is it?
That pipe was put in the 80s. The original pipe was a wood stave pipe. And so it was, just angled wood pieces of wood
Yeah.
that were almost tongue and groove, and then there's bands every foot to hold it together. And there's still some in service in the U.S., but they replaced it in the 80s, and they helicoptered this pipe up there and welded it together.
Sounds like we should have helicoptered up your crew.
Well, the problem is access up there. And there used to be some roads up there, and we can get to 2 different places. There's one just down here at K&J that comes up to this spot, and then down lower in K&J one goes up. And there used to be, it looks like an access road down below, but it's all sloughed off. You can't get to 90% of this. And this is just the flow line. There's not much pressure here. It's about 10 to 15 psi. It drops off the hill, about 3/4 of a mile from right there, where it drops down off the hill. But we've put some new breathers in there and pulled. We haven't opened up the pipe and inspected or anything like that. But where we pulled some of the breathers out and replaced them and added some, the pipe, the thickness in that spot looks really good. So the place is worried about the corner, and we've actually got a sonic tester we haven't been trained on to use that we bought a little while ago. We were going to test where the angle is. That's where the engineers worry when you talk to them, is where those corners are for cavitation.
And you say this is from the upper to the lower?
Yep. So there's an intake structure up the upper plant, and so our upper plant and the Beanie and the Snake Creek tunnel, and then whatever water comes from the overflow of the K&J spring comes down and collects into that, and then it comes into this pipe down to the other plant. So that's what I was going to show you. Bart mentioned the transformer. Bids were due today, so I've got all the bids. I got to sit down and tabulate all of them for the transformer for Heber substation. So we'll get that done next week. Hopefully award that and get a PO cut and get the ball rolling. And that looks like the bids are coming in anywhere from the ones that we're probably looking at are $340,000 to $400,000 for the transformer.
These are already built, though. We don't need to have them reconstructed like we did the old one.
They're not built.
They're not.
No, they're built to order.
Nothing on the shelf anymore, I guess.
No.
In that
They
area.
build them from scratch.